So maybe you're trying to reduce the amount that you buy, or maybe you just realize that you can't reduce the amount that you buy, and you're just going to try and swap the way that you buy from being incredibly unsustainable to being a bit more sustainable. And so you're trying to buy secondhand stuff and you're looking at Vinted. Well, I bet you may have heard some negative reviews about Vinted. I recently read this article on The Independent, which is called How Vinted Became the Most Lawless Place on the Internet. So this is my review of Vinted and whether or not it's a place that you could or you should buy secondhand clothes. In this article on The Independent, she starts by saying that there was this like mysterious package that arrived on her doorstep, and then it was like wrapped in a Pampers wrapper. Like someone had reused a Pampers wrapper to package what she had bought, and for this reason she thought that it was like incredibly confusing. And I do think that it's confusing to receive something in a Pampers wrapper, but at the same time I'm not sure if that's something to massively panic about, because receiving something in reused plastic surely is kind of like the point of Vinted. So what is Vinted? Well, basically it's like a little bit like eBay or like Depop, so you can sell and buy secondhand things online. It was made in Lithuania in like 2008, I believe, where somebody was moving and they had too many clothes, and so they decided to start up this way to sell clothes online. Now they sell way more than that. They sell like toys, they sell handbags, they sell books, they sell loads of stuff. And obviously like they really package themselves as being like much more ethical. So one of the attractions of using Vinted is that they don't take a cut of the sales. What happens when you buy something on Vinted, you have to pay like what they call like a protection fee. And so they work out for you the price of the clothing, and then they also work out for you the amount that you would actually have to pay after the protection fee had been calculated. So for example, here I've just clicked on like a jumper, and the jumper is selling for like €3, and then the buyer protection fee would make it $3.85. And then after that, you need to work out how much it's going to cost you to have it shipped to you. Yeah, so there are a few different kinds of reviews about Vinted out there. If we go to the Trustpilot website for the UK, it's a bit funny because like 5 stars has 49% and then 1 star has 41%. So opinion is apparently very much divided, either really good positive reviews or really, really bad negative reviews. A lot of the positive reviews are like, it's really quick, it's really simple, it's really easy. A lot of the negative reviews are really about customer service. If there's a problem with your item, then really things fall apart quite quickly. So there is like obviously a risk because everybody is complaining about how terrible customer service is really letting things down. For me, I have like a whole bunch of different stuff for myself, for my children, for not for the house, but like toys and things on Vinted, because I would usually buy from a charity shop, but maybe like me, if you want something that's really specific, you can't necessarily find it in the charity shop. Like shopping in charity shops or in like thrift shops, you just have to pick up what you can when you can. You can't necessarily choose the right pieces like you can on Vinted. And if you see something like that's trending or that you really want to buy, one of the best things to do is to go and look on Vinted to see if you can find it secondhand. Okay, so what are the good things about it? Is that obviously like it's really easy to use, it's really easy to pick and choose what you want. They have loads and loads of different stuff. What I would say is like if you're looking for like, for example, say like right now the seasons are changing, or maybe you want some like kind of warm cozy jumpers. What I would personally recommend, because like if you're buying a jumper secondhand, it can be so cheap, like literally like €3 or something. What I would recommend, what I have done before, is I find somebody who has like a few different pieces that I like, and then I make myself a little bundle. And if you make a bundle, you save money because you don't have to pay as much postage, and then you also get a reduction. So like the more items that you buy from somebody, the more you get like these little discounts, and so it becomes better for you financially. So I think that that's a good tip. Another tip is like the only thing that I've ever bought from Vinted and it didn't come out right for me was something I wanted, like this oversized jacket, and I wanted it in the size medium. But then when it arrived, it was actually a size large, and size large was way like size large drowned me. And so that's another trick, is to make sure that you only buy things that people have taken a picture of the label so you can see the size. Obviously, another thing that people complain about a little bit is like the amount of time that it can take for things to arrive. And I think that it's just important to bear in mind that somebody is not necessarily going to be able to post it for you on that day. And then like getting through the post can also be a bit of a mess. So I feel like that's not really a problem with Vinted. That's just like something to bear in mind when you buy on Vinted. Another thing is that when people have been selling on Vinted, people have been saying like people can be really, really rude. Like when you message somebody to ask them questions about something that you're wanting to buy, people can be quite rude. And I think that, again, that's not necessarily a problem with Vinted. That's just like people can be rude, especially when they're online. People can be really rude. But there's a bad thing about Vinted, though, is that it can actually be super addictive. It can, not like super addictive. It's not like other social media, but it does have, I think it does have quite a good algorithm. And you can end up wanting to buy so much stuff and end up just like kind of scrolling through it. And I think that that can be actually like quite a negative thing. And you can end up buying like unnecessary stuff that at the end of it you didn't necessarily really need. So I mean, that's just a part of our like hyper consumerist culture, right? That's not necessarily a criticism of Vinted. That's just like to be more aware of what we buy and how we buy and how we are influenced by Vinted, because it does kind of like, it is just like this little app that you can open up and like have a scroll through, and it gives you like your recommendations and stuff. So that's something to bear in mind. I have never sold anything on Vinted, so this is not like a review of a person who's selling, but just from a person who's bought things. Out of the things that I have bought, I have been happy with like everything, with pretty much everything. Right now, I'm going to go today and pick up another piece that I've bought because I couldn't buy. Like, this is one of the good things about Vinted, is if you want to buy a really quality piece and you can't afford it, or you don't want to afford it, they have loads of like designer items, and not just designer items as well, but things that are like really good quality that you can't, like for me personally, I can't necessarily afford them. And so I like to buy it secondhand so that I can buy something that's much better quality than I could afford, but is much more affordable so that I can afford it. And also it's reducing waste because somebody else doesn't want it anymore. So it's literally like a win-win-win. I cannot recommend buying secondhand anymore. And actually, for me, like I have had really, really, really positive experience, a really positive experience with Vinted. But as I showed you on the Trustpilot review, like, yeah, the jury is very much, very, very, very much divided about that. It's only slightly more. It's only like literally 7% more positive than it is negative. And definitely the bad thing about it is the customer service. I have never bought anything as well that was really expensive. The most expensive thing that I've ever bought is what I'm going to pick up today. So I'm going to see what the quality is. But like I said, I think that having little hacks and tips to make it a little bit more affordable, like trying to buy multiple things in bulk, to like reduce your packaging, to reduce the costs that you have to pay, is a good thing. Another problem that I've experienced with Vinted is that you can't always get it delivered to your house, and that sometimes with different sellers you have to get it delivered to like certain pickup locations, and then these sellers might only use certain companies. So for example, they may use like DPD, or they may use, I don't know, like other ones, and they will only be dropped off at certain places. So if it's not near you, or like near your work, or near like your child's school or something, that can be a little bit of a bane as well, because you also have to go and collect it, when ideally we would like to get it delivered. I mean, for me personally, I would much rather get it delivered to my house, but that often does not happen for me. I have to go and pick it up. But again, that's just something to bear in mind when you're thinking to buy from Vinted. So there's this really funny Instagram account, which is at DM Drama, which has like thousands of followers. And in it has screenshots from like the mad conversations that can happen between like a seller and a buyer, which is, I mean, it is really funny, but also it can be a little bit scary if you're thinking to buy or sell on Vinted, because like I said, half of the reviews are positive and half of the reviews are incredibly negative. Vinted has turned itself into like a massive success, but obviously, as it says, like the paradox of user to user digital marketplaces is that users are trusted to be reasonable people who will not take advantage of one another. And in the event that somebody does take advantage of somebody else, there is apparently, I mean, it certainly seems to be, there is not the support in place in Vinted. So Vinted really needs to pull up its socks and improve its marketplace support. But for me, I have had a really positive experience. The negative things I've had have been more like to do with like the packaging and like the logistics of it than actual customer experience with the application or with like sellers I've spoken to. So I hope that this has given you some information. And if you are thinking of making the switch to become a little bit more sustainable in your buying habits, then I hope that you do so. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you have a really lovely day.